Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Las Vegas Sports Services NBA Weekly Report. I'm John Cranton in Las Vegas, joined by Jeff Saad of LVSS. We're going to take a look at some NBA betting trends, some bubble teams that are on ATS streaks right now to keep an eye on, have some trivia and some trends and even some road trips. But first, Jeff, you continue to sizzle in the NBA, plus baseball season is here. How can people get aboard for a special price?
Well, John, I had 7 winning weeks in a row. That streak was ended, but now I've bounced back again. Last 3 nights, I'm 9-3 overall, including 5-1 in the NBA. Still, since February 4th, I'm 58, 43, and 2 in the NBA, 58%. And I was topped off with an easy win with the Pacers over the Mavericks on Thursday night. You got to get 1 week of college and NBA. Plus baseball. Baseball starts this week. And you got to get my NCAA tourney total of the year. All this for just $10. So plays every day to build your bankroll. 3 sports. Call 1-866-575-8916. Once again, call the LVSS at 1-866-575-8916.
Okay, we're going to look at some ATS trend teams to keep in mind. But first, might as well start, Jeff, with the Miami Heat. I mean, they're the talk of the NBA world after their remarkable 27-game win streak came to an end. Let's look at it from a betting point of view. I mean, when a team is on a record-setting streak like this with the whole country watching and they're up to try and win every game to keep it going, and then they lose, are they going to be overvalued by odds makers in the general public, or are they likely to bounce back and continue to cover games?
Well, let's look at some other streaks similar. The Lakers in 1972 won 33 in a row. They lost to the Bucks, and then the Lakers lost 4 of the next six games. The Houston Rockets in 2008 won 22 in a row. 19-3 against the spread, and then they lost to the Celtics, broke the streak, and the next 7 games, they were just 1-5-1 against the spread, 3-4 straight up. So he's obviously a better team than the Rockets, but you have to be careful here the next few games. The Heat still have something to play for. They're going to be the number one seed in the East, but they still haven't clinched the overall best record. They're only 2 games ahead of the Spurs. So on one hand, the Heat could have a letdown here after the streak. Plus, on the other hand, they still have incentive to win because they want to get the best record in the league. John.
Well, speaking of the Miami, there's a proposition wager that's out in Vegas. Will the Spurs win the title plus 600? Will the Heat win it at plus 150? Or the Thunder at plus 350? Because of this streak, Jeff, you think that should be minus 150 or plus 150 okay on Miami?
Yeah, those 3 props, the only value I see is the Heat still being a plus to win the NBA title. I would make it about minus 110 right now. I don't see anybody coming close to beating the Heat in a 7-game series right now. The only thing that could happen is maybe be a major injury, but right now I'm looking at the Heat to win the title at minus 110.
Okay, let's take a look at some teams that are on streaks right now, ATS streaks, and whether that might continue or not. On the Milwaukee Bucks, Jeff, it's a team that's around 500, plenty to play for with the playoffs, and yet they're not covering games. What gives with this team?
Well, the Bucks they're not that good. They're 7-20 against the spread. They've lost 7 of the last 10. They did beat a tired and depleted Laker team the other night, but they had lost 4 in a row. They lost to the awful 76ers the night before. They're 23rd in rebounding, 21st in scoring defense. They're going to be the number 8 seed because there's nobody else close to them. But that's about. They'll be a one and done team in the playoffs. They still have to play the Thunder twice, the Knicks, the Heat, and the Nuggets. So they're not going to. They're very doubtful they'll catch the Celtics for number 7. But the Bucks are playing. They play together and with a lot of effort, maybe 1 every 4 games, and that's not going to cut it in the league. So the Bucks will be the number 8 seed and they'll be one and done in the playoffs, John.
Another team to keep in mind, and this is out west, would be the Houston Rockets. I mean, they have a winning record, pretty strong at home, a little bit of a losing record on the road, but they are covering games, 16-11 spread run, and there's a couple positive things about them. One is they like the coach, easygoing Kevin McHale. They do play hard for him. And the other is just their style of play. They're basically a mini Denver Nuggets. They're all about running, attacking on offense, don't play very much defense. But that's a difficult type of team to match up against, and that's part of why they're covering. So can they continue to cover games? Well, yeah, because look at the stretch run that they're playing. They're playing a lot of home games. They're just finishing up right now a 7-game homestand. I know they lost to the Indiana Pacers, the most recent game, 100-91, and they were a 6-point favorite. But that was a question where it was a big physical defensive team matched up against a smaller, quick offensive-minded team, and just like in the playoffs, the defensive team dominated and the game went under the total. But still, 12 of the final 18 games that the Houston Rockets are playing, they're going to be at home, and that counts that 7-game streak. And they really don't play any defensive teams during this run. They're going to play 2 games against the Memphis Grizzlies and 1 against the LA Clippers. And as far as defense, that's pretty much it. They got 2 games against the Sacramento Kings, 2 games against the Suns. They got the Magic, Blazers, Nuggets, and the Lakers in there. So I see the Houston Rockets playing hard and still being able to cover games over this final stretch because they're playing at home and they're a very difficult team to defend.
And also the Brooklyn Nets, another team, well, they're the number 4 seed, but they're trying to be number 3. Their biggest incentive to be the number 3 seed is that would mean that they wouldn't have to play the Heat until the conference finals, which may or may not make a big difference. But they're playing through a lot of injuries, and that's Joe Johnson has a quad injury. Reggie Evans had a virus the other night that affected his eyesight. He could barely see, but he had one of the best games of his career. He had 22 points and 26 rebounds in the win over Portland. Jared Wallace has a foot injury. Deron Williams probably still is 100%, but they're doing a great job of playing through these injuries. The Nets are in the middle of an 8-game road trip. They won 4 of the first 5, 4-1 against the spread. They still have to play at Denver, Utah, and Cleveland. They're 5th in scoring defense, but the last 8 games have gone over the total. So the Nets will probably end up as the number 4 seed. There's 2.5 behind the Knicks, 3 behind the Pacers. But as Coach Colosimo said, they're going to play the Heat sometime. What's the difference when you play them? The only positive thing would be if you're number 3, there's a slight chance that we could beat the Heat before you play them. That's a very remote chance right now, John.
Another team to keep in mind would be the Celtics. I mean, they're around a 500 team, pretty good at home, but really have struggled on the road. Since January 27th, around the time Rajon Rondo went out, terrific team against the number, 18-10 against the spread. Part of it is that they're a motivated veteran team with a better bench than a year ago. But I would be cautious about backing the Celtics for a couple of reasons. Number one is when they play bad teams with a losing road record and they're at home, they're terrific, 23-9-2 against the spread. When they face good teams, they've struggled. And the big part is the injury factor. I mean, the most recent title teams in getting to the NBA Finals twice in the last 5 years, well, they did that with the Big Four. Who's left of that Big Four? They let Ray Allen walk during the offseason. Kevin Garnett is out another 2 weeks. Rondo's out for the season. So of that Big Four, only one, Paul Pierce, is left. Recently they had a 5-game skid. Who did they play? Miami, Dallas, at Memphis, the Knicks at home. So they stepped up to play some good teams and couldn't get it done. So that's the way to look at the Celtics. They can beat up with their defense and veteran experience these bad teams, but when they're stepping up right now, being shorthanded against good teams, they're not winning and they're not covering numbers, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that trend continue. All right, let's take a look at some teams that are going to go on road trips that are going to probably hurt them as far as being tired. Philadelphia 76ers, a bad team. They're playing 8 of their last 11 games on the road. Good luck to them. Toronto, which always has long road trips, playing 6 of 10 away recently. The Pistons, another team going nowhere, 6 of their final 9 on the road. And the Orlando Magic are in the same boat, 6 of 9 away. And the New Orleans Hornets, 6 of 8 away. So if you're playing for those teams, it's hard to see them getting excited about playing when you're going nowhere and you're going to have to play on the road quite a bit. Okay, let's go to some trivia. You mentioned the 2 teams that were behind the Miami Heat for the longest win streak. So what was the number 2 team on that list, Jeff?
Houston Rockets.
Right, the Rockets.
And
they
that
won.
Year,
go ahead.
Yeah, as I said, they won 22 in a row, 19-3 against the spread. That's against the spread record is even more remarkable than the winning streak, I think.
Yeah, and that was a 22-game win streak back in 07-08. They lost at home when that streak ended to the Celtics. 94-74 was a blowout. And then they struggled after that. That team very quickly got to the playoffs, lost in the first round to the Utah Jazz in just 6 games. But they lost the first 2 games at home. And when you look at the talent that they had, it's really not that impressive. Shane Battier, Dikembe Mutombo in the middle, Louis Scola, Tracy McGrady, Bobby Jackson. Decent players, but not the type of team you look at and say, well, there's the 72 Lakers reincarnated.
Yeah, they were one of those teams that just got hot at the right time. Plus, they had a fairly easy schedule during those 22 games. Just one of those things. And it was a solid team, but certainly not a great team, John.
Okay, I'll give a free play. There's a Tuesday NIT game. Maryland's playing Iowa. I think it's a bad matchup for Iowa. They've struggled in the Big Ten against big physical rebounding teams. They caught a break playing Virginia the other night on the road. Not a big physical team despite Virginia's defense, and pulled a win. Very different story now at Madison Square Garden. This Maryland team, number 3 in the nation in rebounding, huge front court. I think it's a tough matchup for them. Look for Maryland. And, Jeff, you have a special going with baseball and basketball if folks want to get aboard with a professional Vegas handicapper. Tell everybody about that.
You're going to get a week of college basketball, NBA, and baseball, all for just $10. It's going to include my NCAA tourney total game of the year. It's all for just $10. Just call the LVSS at 1-866-575-8916, 1-866-575-8916.
Okay, very good. That'll do it. We will see you next Friday with another LVSS Las Vegas Sports Services NBA report. For Jeff Saad, I'm John Cranton. We'll see you then.